we connect not only you with nature, we connect you with yourself and then with others around you, right? Like connection can go in so many, it's such a broad thing. But to me, it's all about how you interact with people, you know? And I was taught from a very young age that like we all put our pants on the same, you know? And I say it all the time because I truly believe that. Like, I'm not going to treat somebody the way I don't want to be treated.
Craft Your Life is a radio show for the tenacious, the bold, and those who refuse to settle for mediocrity. We bring together visionaries, game changers, and relentless go-getters who are crafting their lives, businesses, and relations in pursuit of excellence. If you are ready to shatter limits, embrace the amazing, and live life on your own terms, this show is for you. Each episode delivers actionable insights, inspiring stories, and unfiltered conversations that will ignite your drive to win a life worth dying for. Tune in and get ready to live viciously. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Craft Your Life radio show. I'm your host, Matt Kuehlhorn. Today on Craft Your Life, we're diving into flow. And no one embodies that better than Landon Malave. He's the founder of LCM Outdoor Living, a company that doesn't just build water features, they build connection. Landon believes water has a way of bringing people together, and his mission is simple: craft spaces where moments and relationships flow for decades. He's heart-driven, obsessed with quality, and unwilling to do things the conventional way if there's a better one. This is a conversation about passion, precision, and purpose, about doing work that lasts and letting your craft connect lives. I'm excited for this one, Landon. Thanks for being here.
Same, man. I've been looking forward to this for a while.
Yeah. Tell everybody where you're beaming in from.
I am out in Peyton, Colorado, just east of Colorado Springs, about 15, 20 miles in the Black Forest.
Beautiful. And for the folks that are not tuning in by video, which you can always catch these at our YouTube channel, but Landon, you have some beautiful artwork behind you. Tell me a little bit about that. What's up on your walls?
This is some silk art that I found at a home and garden show that we do every year. That became much more than that. Like it's really beautiful. It's got a lot of different layers, like thousands of layers. It's all hand done. Just caught my attention. It was something that I saw at the home show and I had to get it. It kind of has that same embodiment of what I believe, you know, taking your time, making it, you know, right. Creating something that's unique.
Yeah, because this is silk art. So I mean, my understanding is that it's like really fine silk threads, and I mean, somebody is literally drawing with this thread, like hundreds of layers, like ridiculous in my mind.
Yeah, and you can kind of even see like the different shades, but what that is that's just the different layering in it. And I think the thicker, I'm not an expert, so don't quote me on any of this, but I think that yeah, they just put thousands and thousands of layers of this, and that's what gives it the depth. It almost looks 3D. It's hard to see from the side, but
For
it literally
sure.
looks three-dimensional. It's pretty cool.
And tell me again, why do you have this hanging? What called you to it? What's the that's in it?
Yeah, so the guy told me that these cherry blossom trees mean drawing a blank here.
Putting you on the spot.
You hard put me on the spot. Uh,
You didn't think I
well,
was going to ask you about your silk artwork.
I did not. I should have known though. Should have known. It means prosperity. That's what it is. Prosperity. And that's what he told me when I was looking at it. That one caught my attention. There's another one kind of behind me with some koi on it. But that meaning of this one is prosperity. So,
What does prosperity mean to you?
ooh. Prosperity to me means having a purpose. Looking at everything around you, having the perspective of, you know, what's right in front of you. Because to me, there's a lot of people that want and want and want and want. And this painting has kind of even helped me bringing the realization that, we're very fortunate for what we have. Prosperity can be anything. What is prosperity to you could be completely different to me. But I feel like I'm living in my prosperity with my family, the way I carry myself, the people, my customers, the jobs that we do. Um,
Love it. Prosperity, prosperity is.
it is right in front of us.
Yeah, so let's I want to pull us out of the depths a little bit and just add some context. And for the listeners that are tuning in, I mean, some of the context that you may or may not already know is that Landon and I were good buds. We've hung out for a minute. So this is a really special conversation, and it allows us just to dive right in and talk about what the heck prosperity really means. But for the listeners, Landon, give us a little summary. Talk about kind of where you grew up, how you got into doing what you got into, and what it means for you today.
Yeah. Well, I grew up on a farm in eastern Colorado and just learned how to work from a very young age. And wanted to go to school to play baseball. Did that for a couple years. Decided that that really wasn't going to be, the end all. So I transferred up, went to school for horticulture, and started learning about landscape design and horticulture. Always loved being outside, loved trees and plants and all that kind of stuff. And got my horticulture degree, got an extra certificate in landscaping design. And I always told myself if I couldn't get a job before going out of school, then I would go to landscape architecture school up in Fort Collins. But I had a job before I even finished school. So worked for a landscaping company out of Brighton for a couple summers and really enjoyed it. But I felt like I could do it on my own. So I started up my own business. A couple years in, I met my wife. We got married. I had a kid. We got the company going, and then one really big thing that happened to me in my life was I met my mentor, and that was about 3 years in, and my mom had called me and said, "Hey, you gotta meet this guy." They were looking for a tractor online, came and met him, um, came here to pick the machine up with them, and, he ended up building waterfalls all over the world, and we talked my mom into building a waterfall. He, basically taught me how to do it. Then I started selling water features through. And basically, I would sell the jobs. I would almost subcontract him out. He would help me build them, teach me how to do it, give me the ins and outs. And we did that for about 5 years. And it became a major part of my business. It became a major part of my business. And then, I grinded for probably 12 years and was a little stubborn, let my ego get in the way a couple times, probably more than a couple. But then I lost my older brother, who was 38 years old and was really unexpected, and it really changed my life, man. It put everything in perspective very quickly. I started looking at everything, just why am I doing this? Why do I have the business? And it taught me a lot about who I am. It taught me a lot about how I've interacted with people. I'm very loving person, super open and honest, and I realized that I made this connection that you were talking about, that you mentioned at the beginning, with everybody that I interact with, customers, employees, suppliers. And through kind of some healing journey after losing my brother and really paying attention to what I'm creating here, it made me have such a different love for it and understanding and why we do what we do, and watching the kids go play in the pool and hearing that these families spend so much time around their water feature, and we're literally creating these spaces where families connect, people get away, going through tough times. They'll send me a picture and say, "Hey man, I've been sitting out by this water feature for days. Like it's so peaceful and it's helped me kind of get through some stuff." And so it's just turned into so much more than money and building stuff. Like it truly is the connection that's I fell in love with. And I realized that, I probably overlooked for quite a few years when I was doing it, but now understanding perspective and prosperity, what that means to me and my family and all these families we get to intertwine with by doing this. It's been super special for me.
Yeah, I mean, just as an observer, knowing you and seeing how you move through the world, I mean, the mission I think that is around you is this mission of connection in creating these spaces, these sacred spaces. Um, I want you to just explain in your own words what you mean by water features, because I would imagine there's listeners that are, maybe thinking like a little spouty pool or I don't know, water bubbling out of a rock or whatever. But explain what you mean when you say water features.
So when I say water features, I'm thinking of pretty much any sort of feature that we could build with utilizing the sound of water, the sight of it. But anything from, like you said, a little bubbling rock to a wall spout that comes down the face of a wall, something you would see like in a hotel or, hotel lobby or something like that, all the way up to like natural pools that are, a quarter acre, half an acre, where people actually go in and swim in them with massive waterfalls anywhere from 7 to 15 foot tall by 40 foot wide. We've built all kinds of different water features, we could say, even pondless ones that don't have any ponds, but they just want the sound, natural stream going through the yard. We've done crazy contemporary ones in courtyards. Anything that has to do with water, I think that it doesn't have to be massive. I think it's the sound. I think it's truly the sound that gets people away. But all types of water features, which is what makes it really fun for me. Because even a person that doesn't have the budget for a massive swim pond, we can still create some of that, amazing sound for them using just, one or two boulders and make some water go over it, and it still gets that same peaceful sound.
Yeah, yeah. What's interesting is like when I think of water features, like I have a visual. I think of, a running brook or what have you. But you're talking about sound. And so you're engineering that sound.
Yeah, I just got the chills, man. They're really pretty, right? Like the natural brook. Everybody wants to go camping by a stream, by a river. Like there's just something really amazing about it. But what I realize is like I believe that it's just the sound. The sight's cool, you get to see it, but there's something with the sound of it that's healing. It allows you to get out of your head. It allows you to get away from work and, you know, um, take you to another place. So to me, the sound is what's really key. And we can, like you said, kind of manufacture that in any way we want to with fake rock, real rock, inside, outside. Doesn't really matter what um, the space is. We can create it.
Yeah, I love that, man. And I would almost imagine, I mean, in your design process, so um, this isn't designed to be a commercial by any means for you, but just for my own curiosity, like if I had interest in a water feature, I would ring you up and we'd have like a design consultant um, type of meeting, and we put together some designs based on the space and maybe some intention. Like maybe I do want to get in it, or maybe I just want koi, or maybe I don't care about that and whatever. But at what point in that conversation do you then bring up, well, what do you want to hear? Or is this something that you just kind of subtly engineer and craft, knowing that it's going to be kind of a larger impact than that customer might think? Or do customers come to you and be like, hey, man, I want water sounds?
I think it's the total gamut. I think it's both. I don't think it's either or. I think it's both and. I think that some people are via major highway and they're like, hey, we want to be out on the patio and we don't want to hear the cars driving by. So we'll start talking about how big it needs to be in order to make that work. Because depending how major of a highway it is, we might need to make it much taller. Or we might need to make the falls bigger. Or we might need to make kind of caves underneath the falls to push the sound out. And some people just want a water feature and they're not really sure. They don't really know. They're just like, we love water. We don't know what we want. And that's where having those conversations, like you talking about, making that connection and going like, well, where do you spend the most time? I get people all the time that like want it in the middle of their driveway, and I'm like, okay, well, that's cool. I'll do whatever you want, but where are you going to enjoy it? Where do you drink your coffee in the morning? Where do you go relax at night? What do you, how many kids do you have? What about your dogs? Are they going to get in it? I'm trying to learn about
Mm.
who they are, where they spend the most time, where they're going to see it. Can we see it from their kitchen window? What about the living room? Can they open up their window in the bedroom and hear the noise at night when they're going to sleep? Those are all things that I'm trying to kind of pull out of them and without extracting a bunch of information, but just asking the right questions to get them to better understand like what we're trying to do, because we can build whatever they want, but a lot of times they can't really visualize and understand what that impact's going to be, or even what the visual is going to be. Most of the time when we build them, people are just completely in awe going like, I don't know how you did that. But then 2 years later, they're sending me pictures of a bird that's on it. And, they're just like, I can't believe how much joy we gain from these. So there is so much more. Or their kids, I'll go to a job just to go check on it or something. And the kids are out laying on the beach next to the swim pond. And it just brings me so much joy. And the grandma's sitting up on the patio enjoying the sound of the water while her grandkids swimming in the pool. Like it's something really, truly special.
Bro, yeah, I get that, and I would almost I would almost bet that this is the type of purchase that initially would sound expensive and be like, "Oh man, that's so expensive." But then I would also imagine the way that you and your team would deliver that, the amount of real crafting, that intention, the attention, um, the science, the engineering that goes into your builds. And we could talk about, what this looks like, across, but there is a lot of nuance that goes into that. You don't want things leaking. There's a whole maintenance piece. I mean, you don't want to just hire anybody, but then, just in your explanation today, I'm getting this sense of like, oh yeah, there's real depth here. And you're able to put these things together that then last for years and years and years, to where if I was to imagine myself purchasing a water feature from you, I would probably initially be like, "Oh my gosh, that's a good chunk of money." And then after it's in and I see how it impacts me and my family on a day by day over the years, I'd be like, "That was ridiculously cheap."
Yeah, I
Like,
love that.
I would pay triple for, because 'cause you're talking about these moments
Yeah.
that you can't put a price
Well,
tag on.
you mentioned a couple things there. You mentioned kind of the overall like function, right? Like it has to also function without leaking, and it's got to last for a long time because you're going to invest in this thing. And then, we rebuild a lot of them that are brand new that people just didn't know what they were doing. And,
Mm.
people thought that they were going to get the same thing, but there's just, I have a couple competitors. I know what that pricing is. We're not gouging people. We are getting paid for what we do for sure. But, it's so much more than that. And the other thing too is I don't think people realize like what it really takes, right? Like we'll get done with a build and they're just like, "Oh my gosh, those machines are huge and those rocks are massive and what does that weigh?" And we set some boulders that weigh 3,000 to 5,000 pounds all day long, and we're strapping them, and it's something we do every day. So when they're watching us, they're just in complete awe, going like it looks like we're out with little toys, but they're 5,000-pound boulders. And so I think once we get done with the project, people are just like, "Oh my gosh, I had no idea what that actually entailed, or how big the hole had to be, or how much liner we had to use, how heavy, how many guys, all the concrete that we put over the liner to protect it to get the longevity out of it." There's so many details that have to happen that people just don't quite understand. And I've gotten much better at explaining that now over the years, but it's challenging. I can see it, I can visualize it. I've done it a million times, but to really explain that to somebody, we've done a lot of videos and YouTube videos and stuff to try to help people understand that. But it is difficult for
Yeah.
sure, and especially the after. Like you said, like 2 years later, people are still just can't believe how much time they spend by it. And so you can't. How do you explain that to somebody and go, "Well, it's a $50,000 investment, but you're going to be able to use this for 20 years." When your mom passes away and you're having a really hard time, you got a place right in your backyard that you can go enjoy and get away and find some peace.
Yeah,
And it's hard to explain that. So
it is hard to explain. That's the connecting piece.
yeah. And I think just through the conversations that I have with customers and stuff, like we do care. People can see that, they can feel it. But there is that investment part too, right? Where we have to make sure that we can make money. Like we like to have those conversations up front and at first so that they can better understand the process and how that's all going to go so that they can see the value beforehand. But, sometimes people go the other way to try to find something cheaper and then call us later because it's not functioning. And so I hate that. I always tell people like, that's the worst thing for me. I don't want that bad experience to affect our industry because it really is an amazing industry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey everybody, this is Luke from Cooler Garage Doors. Just want to take a quick second to talk about our sponsor, Sommer Garage Door Openers. In our opinion, Sommers are the highest quality product on the market today. We recommend them for all of our residential garage door installs because of the variety of features they include, such as Wi-Fi connectivity and safety features such as a fixed chain, which moves along a secure rail to ensure your garage door opens quietly and safely. Click on the link in the description to learn more about Sommer Garage Door Openers.
I love it, man. On that level of connecting, the connection, I mean, I look at that as presence. Is almost something that's spiritual about it. How would you define it?
Mm. Well, it's definitely much different for me than it used to be, right? Like before I lost my brother, the connection was, I guess, like I said, maybe I just overlooked it. But I think that it has to do a lot with what's within, right? Like I mentioned my ego and, I wasn't super vulnerable to people. I wanted them to see the best of me, the best work that we had. To me now it's completely different. It's like, I don't care what size of job you have. I'm going to treat you the same no matter what. And that connection piece comes with people going like, well, this guy's not trying to just get me to build something that I don't want. He truly cares about my kids, my dogs, where we're going to enjoy this thing. And it helps them better understand, what the purpose is of it. And to me, like I said, I think that comes from within because before maybe that wasn't getting relayed as well through me to the customers. I can't be on every job, but the water feature projects I am very much a part of. Even if I'm not building the whole thing, I'm very still in the design process. Even when we're out building them, man, I'll change something in a design to benefit them, or we'll have a conversation and they'll share something with me that I didn't hear before. I'll be like, oh, well, we need to face it this direction.
Hmm.
So I'll get out of the machine and go over there on the patio and see where they're going to be able to see it. And to me, the connection side goes so much deeper. It's the connection you're going to make with the people next to it too. On my website, it's like we connect not only you with nature, we connect you with yourself and then with others around you, right? Like connection can go in so many, it's such a broad thing. But to me, it's all about how you interact with people, and I was taught from a very young age that like we all put our pants on the same. And I say it all the time because I truly believe that like I'm not going to treat somebody the way I don't want to be treated. And it is sometimes a big investment. And so, having that connection with the customer allows me to get more vulnerable with them. Like I tell them about my kids and how much we've enjoyed it and other people have enjoyed it. And then they're sharing with me some of their struggles. And, maybe like I probably overshare with people sometimes, even like about my loss of my brother. like
Yeah.
random people, but it's something that impacted me in such a way that it made me who I am, and it allows people to get more vulnerable and build that connection deeper because they might have just lost somebody, and you just never know what people are going to go through. You never know who you're going to meet. And, I've built a lot of connections, not even intentionally, just because I care about people and, I want them to, I feel a lot of empathy for people. So to
Do
me,
you
connection in a lot of ways.
yeah. Do you treat yourself the same way that you treat others?
That's a great question. And the answer is now, yes, I'm getting better at that. Um,
What do you mean?
prior prior to losing my brother, I would say no. I put my kids first. I put my wife first. I put everybody else before myself. And that goes from, negative self-talk to how you treat your body, to what I eat, to um, even spiritual, what I believe in, like I never took the time to really sit and deal with my emotions, deal with traumas, deal with things that I had from my childhood. Even my parents that got divorced, that turned me into who I am, but I never really dealt with that stuff prior. And so losing my brother made me kind of dive deep within and look at those things. And what you just said is probably the most important thing out of this entire video is how you treat yourself should be how you treat others. And I was treating others with ton of respect and dignity and empathy, but I wasn't myself. I was very hard on myself. Nothing was ever good enough. Um,
Yeah.
it didn't matter what I did. Like it wasn't enough. And so getting in touch more with my feelings, getting more vulnerable with others like we've had some amazing conversations about this stuff because it matters. I think a lot of people, especially men, right? Like don't want to feel their feelings. It's not masculine to talk about and cry and, deal with stuff. And it's super important. And it's something that it changed who I am even now, like I am learning to love myself. I'm learning to give myself more grace. You know, Being vulnerable and more open with others allows them to be more vulnerable with me. And it's really a superpower. It's a superpower that I didn't really know that I had. And it's a lot more fun now that I'm treating myself with those same things that I was treating others with.
Yeah, I love that, man. I don't think that's abnormal. I think a lot of humans, I mean, we're so good at being super self-critical, and we, there's generally a little internal voice, whether we get that from parents, teachers, or some other authority figure. It's always berating, should have, could have kind of deal. Um, but with that awareness, and I understand the the event of your brother passing, kind of cracks the heart open in ways that can offer more healing and awareness. Um, but on a practical level, and just imagining listeners, the thousands and thousands of them, um, they're like you and me, like we're all humans. And what are some of the practical pieces? What's maybe something you do day by day or week by week? Like what has opened up into your self-awareness these days that has allowed you to move more inside, um, to treat yourself better? You know what I'm asking? Like, are there any habits, are there any actions that you now utilize that you weren't utilizing 5 or more years ago, that make a big impact, that also happen to impact your business, your family, the ripples?
100%, man. 100%. I think the first step for me was just being conscious of my subconscious, right? Like understanding how I think, how I feel, and then diving deeper into that. And I think doing what you say you're going to do, right? Like when I tell somebody to tell a customer that I'm going to make something happen, I'm going to make dang sure that it's going to happen. It's got to be the same with yourself, right? Like you tell yourself you're going to eat better and you don't, then you're basically just lying to yourself. You wouldn't do that to a customer because they would fire you, but you can do it to yourself because you've done it over and over and over and over again. And it's not even a conscious thing anymore. It's just something that's been built in over time. And I think understanding that is key. And I think that was kind of like the start to me going, oh, wow, I am
Mm.
really negative for myself. I didn't realize that before. I mean, I knew how hard I was on myself. I always tell the people the story of like me kicking the back seat of my mom's car when we lost a baseball game when I was in T-ball. It started very young, but like I didn't really truly understand how deep that went and how every single day, all day long, I was telling myself, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. It's not good enough.
Mhm.
Well, when you tell yourself, like, would you tell your kids that every time they did something that it wasn't good enough? No. And it's easy to think about those things. And there's a ton of cliche sayings that are so true, but you have to find that kind of deeper meaning first to really understand what it's saying, right? Like even mentioning your subconscious before, I'd have been like, yeah, okay, whatever. But once I started getting in some groups and we started learning about the the value of your subconscious brain and the things you tell yourself and what you do on a daily basis and how all of those things, like you said, interact with your life, your kids, your family. Because, I realized that I would tell other people, like, I didn't want to let them down. So I would tell other people, like, yeah, let's get together. And then I would be mad at myself because we didn't get together. Well, I did not done that so many times that it just become a habit. And once I realized that, like, I'm doing exactly what I'm telling myself I want to do. I'm becoming the man that I want to become. And that starts with going like, well, who is the man you want to become? What does that guy look like? What does he do? How does he feel? How does he interact with people? And so a lot of that has to do with your subconscious, what you're telling yourself. And so there was a lot of things like I've wanted to learn Spanish forever, but I haven't made a commitment to do it. I've wanted to work out for a long time. I've only been doing it now for probably about 3 years. It's one of the best things that I've done for myself because I've done it every day, no matter what. Like I know that it makes me feel better, but I also know that I want to become that person that I can play with my grandkids. And if I don't start exercising and look at my health, that might not be possible. But it's easy just to like, "Oh, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it in January 1st. I'll do it later." Well, we don't know what later is. Losing my brother gave me that perspective of like, well, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. He was 38. So I have this timeline in my mind that's like, I'm 37 now. He's 2 years older than me. And I'm like, well, I only have one more year. Like if I had one more year, and that's one of those cliche sayings is you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. You don't know how much time you have left here. But it's so true when you really think about it. Like there's 1,000 things that could happen to us tomorrow. And so living with that intention and the detail of doing what you say you're going to do, treating people around you the way you want to be treated, even working on our marriage, man. Like we had 3 kids and we started kind of growing apart and we didn't even realize it. When I started working on myself, she started noticing it. So we became closer. We started having intentional meetings weekly. Those things just weren't happening. It sounds kind of silly, but if you don't make them happen, they're never going to happen. It's just going to go another day and another day. And before you know it, we would have probably been divorced.
Yeah. So I'm going to extract some of the things that you were rattling off there, put this on the ground. One of them is define what you want. And then the question that's close to behind that is who do I need to become in order to have what I want? And then you talked about working out regularly, moving the body, committing to doing what you say you're going to do. And then you mentioned, working on the subconscious. So tell me a little bit about that. Is that like you get up and you're chanting affirmations, you're yelling on the porch or in the shower? What do you mean by working on the subconscious? What does that mean?
Well, like I mentioned, I think it becomes with awareness is the first thing. Like you have to be aware of what your
Just
subconscious.
notice what you think, what you're telling yourself.
Yeah, because like I said, I did it for so long, I didn't even notice it anymore. I would go do a job and I would pick out every single little thing that was wrong with it. I was doing the same thing with myself every single day, all day long. Well, eventually, your brain's, it's like, well, no matter what I do, it's not going to be right. So who cares? So I think the first thing is just self awareness, being self aware of what you are telling yourself, how you treat yourself. When you make a mistake, are you graceful or are you like, you're a freaking idiot? Like how do you react to situations? What do you tell yourself? And then from there, it's reworking it. It's starting to rewire. So instead of like my old self, I would have been like, yeah, you are an idiot. You're a failure. You shouldn't have a business. You shouldn't, you don't deserve this beautiful family and this life that you have. When really, I do. I absolutely do. But in my mind, I just kept telling myself, no, man, you're a failure. So what I do now is as soon as I wake up in the morning, I do basically a daily visualization. And that visualization is, like you said, it's the man I want to become. What do I want my life to be? What do I want my health to be? What do want my marriage to be? What do I want my family to be like? All those things, diving deep and going, okay, well, I want to be here for my kids. I want to be able to be here when they have grandkids, when they have kids. I don't want to give them $5 trillion when I die, but I want to give them something that they can, build a legacy with. Maybe that's real estate. Maybe that's something that, isn't just handing them over a bunch of money. Like, yeah, here's this house, but you got 10 years. You have to own it for 10 years and maintain it, and then you can do whatever you want with it. Right.
And you can never sell my silk cart.
Yeah. uh, right. But but seriously, it's like it's diving deep and really looking at all those things that you want and the person you want to be, and it starts from within. And so doing that every single day, affirmations are great, but if you don't truly believe the affirmation, that's another thing that I realized. I was being motivated. We were in a great group. That's where I met Matt. I was being motivated by others around me, but it didn't mean anything because I didn't want it personally. I didn't feel it. I didn't know why I was doing it. Well, it works for a certain amount of time. And then I was like, well, I don't need to work out anymore. Like, why? Why do I want to work out? I want to be here for my grandkids. That's something true, something you can feel, something you can look forward to. Just because everybody else is doing it doesn't give it. That's just motivation. You have to feel it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
The good
Love that.
Carl Libba would say you have to feel it to be able to fix it. And that's pretty special when you think about it. You got to feel it before you can fix it. And it's easy to push things down and forget about it. But I think that, learning about yourself and learning those things and really diving in, like I would have never looked at having that thought of like, well, who's the man I want to become? I wouldn't have wrote that down. I wouldn't have taken the time to go through that and look at that. And you have to in order to be able to become the person that you want to become. But you got to tell yourself, you got to start rewiring your brain. You got to do the things you say you're going to do. If you say you're going to get up and work out and you don't, then you just lie to yourself. It's the same thing as like what I was talking about with, telling people I'd see them and I'd love to go hang out with them and just never would.
Yeah.
It's building repetition in yourself with your family. Me and Megan, like I said, the weekly meeting. It's uncomfortable, but it's super important and it helps us become better. And when we miss one, we can tell. I can tell. If I miss a workout, I can tell, but it's also giving yourself grace too. I work with a coach right now and, something we're talking about is I'm typically all or nothing. And it doesn't have to be that way. And learning that about myself will allow me to tell myself every day, like, look, dude, it doesn't, if you don't work out today, it doesn't mean you're a loser. It just means you skipped today for some reason. Maybe you didn't feel good or whatever. And it's having those conscious conversations with yourself daily when they happen in real time and recognizing those and then going, okay, let's rewire this. Like, you're not a loser. You just skip the day. You're human. You make mistakes. Like, it's easy for me to start catastrophizing situations. Um, and it just makes it worse. So it's just recognizing it and then trying to rewire it. And that takes a lot of repetition.
Yeah, man, it does. And you're just um the foundation to all of that is self-love because it's so easy to hear a bunch of noise, be scrolling through Instagram or Facebook, whatever, and see various influencers or people be like, "Oh, consistency. You gotta stay 100% consistent," or like you miss a gym day, blah blah blah, and it is literally just becoming the voice in your own head if you allow it. Where it's like, and I wrestle with this. There's I think there's a theory of 7 sevens, so I get to go through another 7 here, as I spin 49 times around the sun. And and this one just seems real. Like I'm becoming a version of myself that I really never thought I would become. Like I'm starting to really like golf. I I, I might be getting into cigars. Like I'm this dude that I used to make fun of in my 20s. And and I'm okay with that. But the transition is real. Like it's an identity shift, and I've had various identity shifts in my life. Um, and so things change up. Like right now, this week, I'm certainly not as consistent as I have been in the gym. Um, and that's all right because I love myself. And as long as that's there, then it becomes a potential slippery slope if I get really comfortable and I don't push myself out of comfort, right? And yet it comes back to self-love. What do I want? Who do I need to become? And I haven't been able to figure out anything more real than that.
Yeah, it's so true, man. I mean, I feel like I'm a completely different person than I was 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So I feel that a ton. And it's hard to explain, but like you said, I mean, even I remember when I had my first kid and we were like, we're never going to be the parents that, we don't go out to dinner because it's their bedtime. And, I was very unorganized and I was reacting to everything. And now I get so mad at myself when I see myself doing those things. I'm like, no, that's not, I need to be organized. I want to grow the company. In order to do that, I have to be organized. I have to be the one that's showing my team what organization means. You got to lead by example. And so
Mhm.
even like children, having some fun and going out and staying out late all night, it's not a big deal. But to make that become a habit, it was a habit with everything I did. I was late to everything I did. I was unprepared. I was reacting to my days. I wasn't taking control of my calendar. Um, those things all tend to happen and you don't even know it's happening because you've done it for so long. And now, man, I would agree. I'm like, I would have probably made fun of this guy. I'm working out daily and I'm, very particular with how I spend my time, who I spend my time with. If it's somebody very negative, I'm sorry, but I'm probably not going to be hanging out a lot with you because I don't want to be around that negativity because it's easy for me to slip into that. I'm very empathetic to others and I feel so I start getting negative myself and it's those old habits. And so kind of becoming that next person of going, okay, well, in order to do this, I know that I can only be around that type of person for 1 hour. And that sounds so silly, but it's like you've got to be able to
That's so
limit your
true.
time, understand who you are, right? And like you said, and love yourself. But it's interesting shifting, I'll tell you that, because it's uncomfortable, it's super uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's the journey. That's why the majority of people will choose not to change. Bro, so much meat and potatoes in the convo. I know we could hang out for hours and we're due for an in-person hangout for hours. What are you excited for? What's coming up on your radar? What does a winter look like? What is next season? What's happening in Malavi's world?
Well, it's Malave, you should know that, punk. I'm just joking. Um, but There's a lot of exciting things happening. I'm going to set up shop in Dallas, Texas, and start kind of another division or side branch of my company there to be able to help us get through the winters.
Amazing.
As soon as the winter comes, man, my brain and my mind and everything just starts going to like hibernation, and that's got to change. So that's that next kind of person I'm going to become. I want to get creative and find ways to help my team and get through this winter. So we are just trying to sell everything we can, build those relationships with customers, get stuff lined up for the winter, to really push through the next spring, because that's when we start going crazy and continue to build the company. You know, my ultimate goal is to build something that, one, can run without me, two, that keeps the same connection piece of what I've built from the very beginning, no matter if it's a patio or a waterfall. And it takes time. It takes time. It takes effort. It takes the right people. And so we're just trying every single day to, be more organized, have meetings, and do those things that help us grow and become a better business, and take care of our customers better, and get more of them to where we
I love
can,
it.
make some money, and also make a lot of people happy.
I love it, man. For anybody that's been listening that wants to reach out, maybe they just want to connect with you on that human to human heart level, or maybe they want to look at the $250,000 water feature put in the backyard. How do we find you? How do we connect?
Yeah, we are all over online. So you can look us up by lcmoutdoorliving.com. But we are on Pinterest and TikTok and Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. So any of those places, if you're looking for LCM Outdoor Living, you'll find us. And, you know, I'd love to have a conversation if you own a business or not, or anything. Like, I'm always open to new conversations and meeting new people. And appreciate you having me, man.
Landon, I appreciate you, man. You're a beautiful human being. And what you bring into the world is incredibly special. And um, yeah, one of your biggest cheerleaders. One day I'll be your customer, and I appreciate this conversation.
Appreciate you, man. Love you, man.
Know that I am incredibly humbled and honored. I can't believe I'm saying this. We have over 2,400 subscribers on our YouTube channel, and we're just growing. It is amazing. And your likes, your subscribes, and your shares have helped us get here. So let's grow this thing together, and just know that you are appreciated.